Hey Buff fans, welcome back to an awesome Go Buff Sports live show. I'm Britney Garcia.
And I'm Hannah Howell.
And we got a show full of Big 12 tournament madness to combine antics.
We have a really packed live show, so buckle up and let's tackle it.
Exciting news for our future NFL Buffs out of Indianapolis after the NFL Combine. Every prospect is given a grade 1 through 10 scale through score factors in both production and athleticism of the athlete using next-gen stats. The NFL gathers the data and creates a ranking with a grade of 6.89. Travis Hunter earned the third best score in the class. Without combine drills, Hunter took a dent in the athleticism score. Even without, he finished as the top-graded cornerback.
Though Travis didn't participate in drills or workouts during the Combine, he was no stranger to the press in speaking on his mentality. Let's take a closer look.
In the NFL, I got my own unique play style. I play both sides of the ball. Not that many people in the NFL have done it. Everybody know I can light up a room just by walking in. I always have a smile on my face. I bring the excitement, and I'm a great communicator.
What do you think?
I did some meetings at receiver, did some meetings at DB, so it's still up in the air. I mean, nobody have done it, but I feel like I'll put my body through a lot. I do a lot of treatment. People don't get to see that part, what I do for my body to make sure I'm 100% each game, but I feel like I can do it because nobody have done it, and I know I can do it. I did it at college level, which the game is, we rarely get breaks, and it's a lot more breaks in the NFL. I mean, yeah, I would hope for them to let me go out and earn the other position, but it's up to them, not me. What makes his game so special? His accuracy and his love for the game. Toughest corner, probably from either Nebraska or Oklahoma State, and the toughest receiver is definitely T-Mac from Arizona. I'm very confident. I believe he's definitely the best quarterback in this draft.
What's more difficult for you doing football or
Probably me, what I do in football, because it's a lot on your body. Tunney, he's a great player, but you got to do a lot in football. I used to watch a lot of Jerry Jeudy because he's from Florida and I'm from Florida, so I kind of copy his movements a lot. But other than that, there's really no other player that I stout my game after.
It's no question Hunter is a generational talent on both sides of the ball. He proves day in and day out his ability to make big plays at the biggest moments. His catching ability is anchored by his focus and strength to make those sudden grabs. However, scouts are concerned that his high-flying playing style will result in his high contact. This is a huge concern with regard to higher weight classes. On the defensive side, his range makes him a huge standout at cornerback. Overall, the league expects Hunter's talent on defense to take a paramount as his NFL journey starts.
Like Hunter, Shedeur Sanders was also given a combine grade. Not participating in drills hurt his athleticism score as well, with a 6.3 grade. Sanders was placed just below Miami quarterback Cam Ward. However, his production score of 87 was the best of all quarterbacks. It is clear that Sanders' on-field play is what he trusts in most. This slight could be extra motivation for the quarterback, who's known to keep receipts.
Perhaps the most striking part of the Combine was for Sanders wasn't on the field, however, or any of his physical attributes for that matter. What most scouts and general managers were most attentive to for the quarterback prospect was his media day press conference. Among other things, Sanders stated that he will not be attending the draft in person, which will be held in Green Bay this year. Let's take a look at some of those highlights from that presser.
I've been through 6 different OCs, so I'm able to adjust to any offense and every scheme and make it work. We went from Jackson State to Colorado and changed 2 programs back to back. So you don't think I could come to an NFL franchise and change the program again? It's history. We done it again. It's always going to repeat itself. I'm truly thankful. My dad was able to assemble a staff. He was able to assemble because there's knowledge everywhere. We're able to talk to the running back coach, receiver coaches, defensive coordinators, all these different types of coaches to give you their perspective on what you need to improve on and grow at. So I'm realistic. I know what I need to improve on. I know what I need to grow at. And year by year, cut on the tape, those mistakes cut down. NFL wide receivers I fantasize throwing to Travis Hunter, LaJohntay Wester, Will Shepard, and Jimmy Horn. I'm most proud about my mental. Yeah, because I know nothing can faze me, no pressure, no situation. These cameras, nothing faze me. I grew up with it. That's the plan. If that's not what you're trying to do, don't get me. If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't get me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over, and I've done it over and over and over, so it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. Now the thing is, I respect a lot of quarterbacks here. They put a lot of hard work in to get to this point. So it's kudos to them. It's truly respect, but I know what I bring to the table. No, it's extremely important to keep your mental in the best place because that's what my game is played. My game's not played from my legs and not even just my arm. So I know longevity, the all-time greats, what's Tom Brady's best trait? His mental. He's able to think. So if you have those traits of greatness and I know where I'm heading, then why wouldn't the franchise pick me? You got the ultimate cheat code. The number of where you go don't matter. Like I say, and that's why I reference Tom Brady because he was the best of the best in all categories. He didn't go first. So the number getting picked don't matter. I wasn't the top-rated quarterback coming out of high school because it's a lot of exterior things that people like and they don't like about me. And I'm realistic, and I'm realistic about my family and everything that people say.
Shadour's comments have been incredibly polarizing in the scouting world, with some quarterbacks coaches calling his attitude unprofessional and overconfident, while others have praised him for his leadership and outspokenness as he gets ready for the highest level.
With the combine behind us, we have the most complete scouting report yet from the league until Pro Day in a few weeks. Let's see the reaction around the league on Sanders' updated report. Several scouts are impressed so far by his ability to extend plays as well as make big playoff platforms or with his legs, despite having a below-average offensive line protecting him. His most notable weakness, however, is his response to pressure, including bailing on plays early, eluding his own blockers with his pocket movement, and holding onto the ball too late for massive sacks. Some scouts are worried how he will respond to the most relentless mobile edge rushers in the league, who pursue a lot harder than college. It is time now to take you to Mia Driscoll and Nick Evans with this week's Buff Banner. Let's have a look.
Hey Buff fans, you're here with Mia Driscoll and Nick Evans for this week's Buff Banner. This week's topic is Shedeur Sanders, and does his confidence hurt or help him? We've seen a lot of emotion, and it's been described in a couple different ways. Some call it passionate, energetic. Most recently at the NFL Combine, he was called brash and arrogant by an NFL coach. Nick, how do you want to get us started with this?
Yeah, well, I like the way you introduced that. We've seen a lot of alleged comments from AFC executives and different scouts. A lot of teams that are looking at Shedeur right now is from the AFC. And a lot of reports are saying that they're negative. But at the same time, you see so many positive comments from scouts, from internet personality. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, which one is the more dominant perspective and what maybe the negative comments. They're not as many of them. They're just kind of the louder ones because, we see so many of these. He's arrogant, he's overconfident. He's not going to back up his game. But at the same time, you see so many of these overwhelmingly positive comments on Shedeur. So it just makes you wonder.
I think it's interesting, too, the negative comments that we got most recently are anonymous. And a lot of the comments that we see are other athletes that have these big personas that do back up their game and do have that cockiness and that swagger. And I think it's interesting that that's how it was approached and how it was released in a statement. I think that Shedeur's been around that obviously his whole life. And we've seen it with Dion, and I think that it brought so much energy here in Boulder, and I think that it totally turned this program around as we've seen. And I think that's definitely something that they want to do wherever Shedeur ends up going. I think that he's looking, when we talk about the Cowboys, turning a franchise around and having that quarterback that has that big name. And like we've said, why wouldn't you have that confidence? You're an NFL quarterback. You don't want your quarterback going in timid, especially as a rookie.
Yeah, well, I mean, we just saw earlier in the show the combine comments, the stuff that he made. He didn't throw in the combine, didn't do drills, but he still was able to talk to the media. And you looked at Travis' comments; he skipped so many of them. He didn't say anything about any NFL teams. He's kind of dodging around them. Where Shedeur kind of took it head on, and he was focused on making a good impression for teams And he was asked a lot, just honestly, what should teams expect from you? What should fan bases expect when they draft you? And he told them plainly, he wants to completely change the culture. He's going to be brash. That's just his confidence. And, he mentioned it. His father was like that, and he turned around the Falcons from where they were, in the Favre days. So you just have to expect that from Shedeur. And we've seen comments from Browns fans, Titan fans that might take Shedeur, and they don't hate him at all. They don't think he's overconfident. They're like, we need this right now. Our franchise is in a bad spot. You don't know how refreshing it is to have a quarterback that goes in there confident, and he knows he's going to change the atmosphere in that locker room.
Yeah. Going back to bigger names that have defended him, Stephen A. Smith on First Take, he said, what is he supposed to be as a quarterback entering the NFL? You can't be insecure and succeed. You can't have doubts on your abilities. He has a resume that backs up his confidence. What do you see from that? Obviously, Stephen A. Smith, he's got a lot of controversial opinions, but this is one that I think can be backed up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he said so much. Like, that was like a whole 10-minute thing that he was talking about Shedeur. And he mentioned it, his father is Deion Sanders. I'm sure there's so many people that remember that. He was someone that was really cocky and backed it up, and I'm sure that made a lot of people upset. And so now you have his son trying to do the same thing. A lot of people aren't reacting positively about that, but, I think Stephen A. is right. He had so much to say about Shedeur. He's a person of color trying to be, really confident, and that might not rub some of these GMs or executives the right way. But he's right. You really have to have that attitude, because you can't just be a product of a system when you're a team like the Titans or the Browns, who are not in a good spot right now. You can't just keep what they're doing because they're not in a good spot, and you can't change the atmosphere by just being like, whatever, it's whatever coach wants me to be and blah, blah, blah. Whereas he's someone that is directly challenging what those teams are. And if you're a fan of that team, that's exactly what you want. And so to me, it doesn't come off as, overconfident when he's someone that has the power to back that up.
And someone else who's also an NFL prospect at the draft was Cam Ward, and he had similar confident takes. He said, if you don't draft me, that's your fault. You've got to remember you're the team that's got to play me for the rest of my career, and I'll remember that. So at the end of the day, it's not just Shedeur. This is a new culture of players that are getting bigger names before they go pro, and we're just going to have to see how that plays out and see how they take a hold of it.
Yeah, well, NIL era is officially here, and now players are making probably more money than they'll get as a rookie. Yep. And now you have to deal with that. That's just how it's going to be. You're going to have big names because they just got all that money, all those endorsements, all those eyes on them. Social media is at a new platform, and you're just going to have to deal with that. And I love that Cam Ward's kind of taking that on, because I really want to see them be two rivals, maybe stay in the same conference, maybe even the same division if we're lucky, and just really pit them against each other, because it brings out the best of them. And Shedeur was really respectful, and he put it bluntly, as we saw in the clip earlier. He doesn't care where he goes, because Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, was like 150, so that doesn't matter for him.
Yeah. Do we want to look at the potential teams that these quarterbacks could go to?
Yeah, so we have, we could have put any teams on here. Right now, pick number 1, Tennessee Titans. They might go with someone like Abdul Carter, a defense person. I think they move on from Will Levis. I don't know if they take Cam Ward. They're looking for someone with a really strong arm. That's exactly what Cam Ward is compared to Shedeur. The Browns right now look to be the front runners, but maybe a team like the Titans move down and some wild card team comes in there. You have the Giants, you got the Raiders, the Jets. I put the Jets in here. They're obviously moving on from Aaron Rodgers. They might pursue someone like Sam Darnold, which would be funny because they just had Sam Darnold. Just all of these teams right now in a really cool spot, because they're all talking about Shedeur. The Raiders, Tom Brady was training Shedeur a couple years ago. I'm sure he has his eyes on Shedeur. It makes you wonder who they would target if else, because let's be honest, this quarterback class is really shallow. Beyond having Shedeur and Cam Ward, that's kind of it. So I think it's interesting. More importantly, if both those quarterbacks go off the board, what teams like the Raiders and the Jets would do that right now need a quarterback.
yeah, it's going to be interesting wherever we end up. We've got a lot to look forward to, and I think that sums up our Buff banner for today. We're looking forward to seeing you guys back here next week. And that was Mia Driscoll and Nick Evans.
Wide receiver Jimmy Horn Jr. had an NFL.com grade of 5.85 after his combine performance. The speedster is also projected to be an average backup or special teamer in the league. His total grade of 57 is 48th among wide receiver draft prospects.
Small but mighty, Horn boasted an impressive performance in his drills. With a 4.5-second 40-yard dash, a 1.5-second 10-yard split, and a 4.5-second 20-yard shuttle, Horn is one of the fastest players to attend the combine in Colorado history. On top of that, his alertness on pass routes was on point, as his quick hands and explosive stride makes him a huge standout in taking down top defenses. Though his size may be of concern to teams, they can count on his fearlessness to make key plays.
Colorado wide receiver LaJohntay Wester has given a 5.81 grade by NFL.com as a draft prospect for this April. He's projected to be either an average backup or a special teamer in the pros. With a 4.46 40-yard dash, his total score of 63 ranks 43rd among wide receivers prospects.
On top of his impressive 40-yard dash, Wester proved he is built for long routes. The tight nature of his hips, however, limits his ability to make tight angles. On top of that, his catch radius is rather small, requiring an incredibly accurate passer. His punt return and ability to make plays from the slot is where he shines as a runner. Scouts say this should give him a chance to make a roster.
As the combine comes to a close, the Buffaloes have 4 prospects entering the 2025 NFL Draft. The media has been comparing these 4 prospects to current players in the league. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, CU's 2 biggest stars, are projected to be drafted in the first round. NFL analysts are comparing Sanders to Geno Smith and Deshaun Watson, 2 successful NFL athletes who are capable pocket passers, but also can move out of the pocket and deliver the ball. Sanders shines in his arm strength, mobility, and is considered one of the most NFL-ready players in this year's draft. For Hunter, he is in more of a unique position. Not only are NFL analysts calling him the next Patrick Peterson, often comparing him with other corners like Darius Slay and Broncos legend Champ Bailey, but Hunter plays both sides of the ball unlike anyone else has seen in the NFL before. On the offensive side of the ball, Hunter's lanky, athletic build allows him to make extraordinary plays on the ball. His speed is also a danger for any defense. NFL analysts are comparing him to Odell Beckham Jr. and Devonta Smith. Outside of Colorado's 2 major stars, Jimmy Horn Jr. and LaJohntay Wester are also on many teams' draft boards. Horn was Colorado speedster and spark plug this year. NFL scouts like his quickness and versatility. Although Horn isn't the biggest guy on the field, his size and catch radius have analysts comparing him to Ray McLeod III and Antoine Randall L. For Wester, you may remember his season highlight, a Hail Mary catch against Baylor. Wester isn't a small guy, and many analysts say he plays bigger than his size, comparing him to Houston Texans speedster Brandon Cooks. For more on the Buffs combine and results and draft projections, make sure to check out our football section at ScoBuffSports.com.
Excitement is high for the NFL Draft as 4 Buffs are entering the 2025 Draft. Here's what you should know. Travis Hunter is currently projected as the top prospect in the draft, but a couple teams in the top 5 picks need quarterbacks, meaning Hunter may fall past the 1st or 2nd round pick. As of now, Hunter is favored to be drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars at the 5th pick. Shedeur Sanders is also among those in the top 5. Many mock drafts have him going second, if not first, in the 2025 draft. Jimmy Horn Jr. and LaJohntay Wester are the 2 other Buffs in the draft pool. Horn is looking like a day 2 or 3 guy. Many sources have been drafted in the 5th and 6th rounds. Wester is also a guy who impressed over the offseason, earning a combine invite. Wester is projected to be a day 3 pick in the 6th or 7th round.
Now it's time for our trivia question. Colorado sent four players to the NFL Combine this year. When was the last time 4 Buffs were attended the Combine? Stay tuned to find out later in the show. Before we look at coverage of the women's basketball tournament in Kansas City, let's look at the past week of games for the women leading up to them. Last Saturday, Colorado women's basketball dropped to the number 9 seed in this week's Big 12 tournament due to the road loss to the Texas Tech Lady Raiders. The Buffs rallied to force overtime, led by 21 points by Lyric Garzon. However, CU couldn't keep pace with red-hot Raiders squad in the extra period, falling by a score of 83-79. The loss bumped Colorado's final regular season record to 18-11 and 9-9 against conference foes.
While CU's women's hoops season is coming to an end, the Buffs got some Big 12 honors. Frida Foreman and Jade Masagayo each earned all Big 12 honorable mention for their play this year. Despite injuries, Frida Foreman led the team in scoring this year with 12.5 points per game, with Masagayo averaged 12.3.
The Buffs' Big 12 tournament run has come to a close earlier this afternoon. Our crew out in Kansas City has all the coverage from this week. Take it away, guys.
By the Buffs getting in a 12-point deficit down to 3 in the final moments, they ended up taking a loss to the TCU Horned Frogs in the Big 12 tournament quarterfinals today, 69-62. The Buffs got off to a hot start in the first half, gaining a quick 8-point lead, knocking down their first 7 shots. Jay Masagawa in the first half also had 14 points on 7 for 7 shooting and finished with 22 points. The second half, at least the start of the second half, was a little rough as the Buffs only scored 8 points in the third quarter, but and we're down 12 at the end of the third. But Kennedy Sanders had 9 points in the fourth quarter, 9 of her 11 points in the fourth quarter, and helped out the Buffs go on a 12-2 run over 5 minutes after Sedona Prince picked up a fourth foul, forcing her to sit. The Buffs traded buckets in that fourth quarter for a while before TCU kind of just pulled ahead. And the Buffs also had 0 field goals made for the last 3 minutes of the game, resulting in the loss. The Buffs now look ahead to some more postseason play, maybe making the March Madness, as J.R. Payne said in the press conference. She's got a pretty strong pitch, but if not, the NIT is going to come. So I'm Xavier McNevitz with Scope Buff Sports here from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City.
This past Sunday, the Buffs fall 65-56 to the Kansas State Wildcats. A real chance to gain their first on-the-road conference win got destroyed as cold shooting early and turnovers derailed their chances. The Buffs' leading scorer, Julian Hammond III, was scoreless but exited the game early due to a lower back issue. Although Buffs didn't pull through, R.J. Smith went 5 of 8 from the field, scoring 11 points. They drop 11-18 overall and 2-16 in the Big 12 matchups after this loss to the Wildcats.
On Wednesday, the men's Hoopers took a trip to Lubbock, Texas to face the number 9 Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Buffs lost this about 91-75. In the affair, TTU's JT Toppin had an outstanding night. He logged 30-point triple-double, grabbing 14 rebounds for the Buffs. Their shooting struggles are what harmed them. The Buffs only made 3 of their 14 threes in the game. Colorado did keep the game close multiple times throughout the first half, but Texas Tech shined in their efficiency from 3, giving them a comfortable lead for most of the second half.
Well, it's almost here. The sun is setting on the 2024-2025 season for the Buffs as they will host the TCU Horned Frogs this Saturday at 2 p.m. in the Event Center to cap off a rather disappointing season. The Buffs come into this game searching for a bounce-back win after suffering a 16-point loss to ranked Texas Tech on Wednesday. They currently sit dead last in the Big 12, 11-19. So while a win might not change the standings, the final game of the season is a chance for the Buffs to put a rough and disappointing season behind them and end their regular season with a W. TCU currently sits at 16-14 on the season and 9th in the Big 12. As they come into their last game of the season after suffering a close defeat at the hands of the Baylor Bears, TCU was also the victor in a convincing 68-57 victory in their last matchup with the Buffs earlier in the season. The Buffs are going to have to focus on limiting the turnovers, playing strong defense, and having strong offensive production to limit TCU's chances at a win. This is also the final game before the Big 12 Conference Tournament begins, so a victory here for the Buffs could provide some much-needed spark and momentum to end the season. This season will ultimately be one that the Buffs will want to forget, but with a potential win against TCU, at least the regular season can end on a W. Expect all players from both teams to give it their all. So for one last time this regular season, let's support our Buffs in ways to victory. Once again, the tip-off will be on Saturday at 2 p.m. on ESPN+.
The men's Big 12 tournament starts on March 11th. CU will be the 16th seed and have to face the 9th seed in the first round. With a weekend of games left, it's unclear who exactly that 9th seed will be. The path to the championship includes going through number 1 seeded Houston. But hey, if we win the Big 12, we get a ticket to the big dance. So good luck to our men's team.
The women's lacrosse team played in Boulder for the first time this season and picked up a 12-6 victory over the Army Black Knights for the team's first win of the season. Captain Madeline Pisani tallied her 100th career point while recording a hat trick, while Maddie Shoup put up a hat trick of her own. The Buffs had a big lead early, then slipped a bit after halftime, but they put together a strong fourth quarter to pull away at the end.
Last week's win over the Army wasn't the only good thing for the Buffs lacrosse team, as Jess Peluso won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week honors, and Elena O won Goalkeeper of the Week. This is the third time Peluso has won Conference Defensive Player of the Week, with the previous 2 instances happening in the Pac-12. In previous years, she led the defense in the win against the Army with 7 draw controls, 2 ground balls, and a forced turnover. O, in her second career appearance, posted a .667 save percentage while only allowing 6 goals against the Black Knights to earn Goalkeeper of the Week. Next up on the schedule for the Buffs is number 5 Michigan. This will be the 5th consecutive ranked opponent Colorado will face to start the 2025 season. The squads faced up in Ann Arbor a year ago, and the Wolverines got the best of the Buffs, 13-8. The first draw is scheduled for noon at Printup Field tomorrow.
Shifting over to the snow, the Buffs are in action over in the New Hampshire at the NCAA Championships. The Buffs were in second place after yesterday's action, dropping from first place Thursday. On the men's side, Will Coach posted the best time in the 7.5 kilometer race, finishing in 5th place, while Tilly Bangman was the top Buff on the women's side. The competitions continue Saturday at Dartmouth.
The men's golf team is traveling to San Diego next week to compete in the Lampkin San Diego Classic. The Buffs are coming off a 2-week break after competing in the Wyoming Desert Intercollegiate in that final round. Sophomore Brandon Knight finished second with 17 birdies and 31 pars. The first 2 rounds start on Monday, March 10th, with the final round on Tuesday, March 11th.
The tennis team fell to both Iowa State and Kansas last weekend and are now in the middle of a road trip through Utah. Yesterday, their contest versus BYU came down to the wire, but they unfortunately lost 4-3. Doubles play was outstanding, but only 2 Buffs were able to win their singles matchups. The team now hopes to get their first Big 12 win tomorrow versus Utah. They play at 11 a.m.
The track and field team did not compare well against the rest of the Big 12 in the indoor championship last weekend. The men's team placed 12th out of 13th, and the women's team placed last. Both men's and women's distance melody teams did well, placing 3rd. Long-distance runner Isaiah Gibbons qualified for nationals in the mile. He is the only Buff to qualify. The team's first meet of the outdoor season takes place on March 21st and is at CSU Pueblo.
Hey Buff fans, I'm Kieran Walker bringing you this week's top 5 plays in Colorado sports. Yes, you heard that right. We have 5 plays for you this week on this week's live show. Normally we do 6 or 4 because we're not all about consistency here. But enough yapping, we're getting right into it with our number 5 spot. Men's basketball against Kansas State. Andrei Yakimovsky nearly placed this one out of bounds, but it's kept in by K-State. Bang Dak fires for 3, and he gets it from downtown. That was a tough game, of course. Obviously, the Buffaloes haven't been successful this season, unfortunately. But number 4, moving into game 1 of the Big 12 tourney for our women's team, Leora Garzon fires for 3, and she sinks it from deep from downtown. She was wide open. She just let that fly as we go into our number 3 spot. Men's lacrosse against Northeastern, their home opener at Kip Field. Keller out here to Craig Nam, and he rips it right past their goaltender. First points on the board in the second half for Colorado. The flame was reignited as they tie the game at 10, moving into our number 2 spot. Going into women's basketball last night against Arizona, Tabitha Benson in trouble from that Arizona defense. Leaves it out for Kennedy Sanders, who launches for three right between the eyes from downtown. And that bench is going crazy for obvious reasons. Moving into our number 1 spot, that same Arizona game, Leo Garzon looking to steal this for her Buffaloes team, and she launches from right inside the three-point line and converts on that play. 61-58 final from Kansas City that night for the Buffaloes as they move on to take on TCU. As of recording this, they are playing this game right now, so we have an update in the show later for you guys. And that's going to do it for this week's Plays of the Week here on Skill Buff Sports. I'm Kieran Wager, and we'll see you all after the break.
Welcome to Folsom Feud. I'm your host, Colby, here with 3 contestants today, Lincoln, Balin, and Kieran. Lincoln, start us off.
I'll take game day etiquette for 200.
All right. This is the best way to show respect during the CU fight song.
What is standing, singing loud, and raising your hand in the hook 'em horn sign?
Not what we're looking for. Balin, you have an answer?
What is stand up, sing loud, and do the Ralphie horns?
Correct. Balin, the board is yours.
Give me tailgate traditions for 400.
All right, here's the answer. The must-have item to wear on game day to show your buff pride. Kieran?
What is black and gold?
That's correct. Nothing says school spirit like those 2 colors. Choose the next one.
Let's do fan etiquette for 600.
Fan etiquette. The proper response when you hear someone yell, "Go Buffs."
What is Skull Buffs?
Skull Buffs is right. Looks like we've got some true Buffs fans here. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to our contestants, and see you next time.
The Colorado Women's Club lacrosse team held their home opener last weekend against Utah. It was a tough game against the number 12 ranked Utes. All-American Nia Allen played a huge role in Utah's success, scoring 3 goals right off the face-off. The Buffs didn't have an answer to the Utes' strong attack, falling 7-18 at Kit Field.
The Buffs are seeking redemption this weekend as they travel to Provo, Utah to take on BYU. The Cougars had a busy start to their season, playing 6 games throughout February, though it has not gone their way this far as they hold a 2-6 record. With this in mind, the Buffs look to capitalize on the road against their conference rival.
The men's club lacrosse team also hosted their home opener this weekend. Not unlike their home opener last year against the number 1 Virginia Tech, the Black and Gold welcomed number 2 Northeastern. The Huskies came into the matchup undefeated in non-conference play. The Buffs, having only played 2 games, held a 1-1 record. Colorado dominated first quarter, putting up 6 points early. Buffs foso Mike Kulagowski won all but one of the 26 faceoffs. The Huskies came into the second half ready to defend their number 2 spot. The Buffs defense had no answers to Northeastern's attackers, who put up 43 shots on the net. The match was close, but the Buffs fell short of the upset with the final score of 12-11.
The CU men travel to Arizona this weekend to take on GCU and Arizona State. After a bye week, the Antelopes sit at number 6 in the Southwestern Lacrosse Conference. The Sun Devils hold the number 4 slot with 3-2 record. The Buffs will look to redeem themselves on the road after a tough loss in their home opener.
Colorado women's hockey forward Mia Fischelli was named an ACHA D1 second-team All-American after a stellar season with the Buffaloes. The sophomore scored 19 goals, which tied for 8th in the country, along with 14 assists in the season. She scored a whopping 5 game winners during the season and had a hat trick on February 15th against the University of Denver.
The club baseball team has their own home opener for the 2025 season this weekend. The Buffs welcome in Metro State for a 3-game series at Scott Carpenter Park. There's a doubleheader on Saturday starting at 2, with Game 3 on Sunday at noon, and if you can't make it to Scott Carpenter Park, watch all 3 games live right here on Skill Buff Sports YouTube channel.
As we continue on with our outdoor sports this week, let's take you now to Lucy Ilana with today's weather report.
All right, thanks guys. Hi Buffs, I'm Lucy Ilana and welcome back to our weather segment for this week's show. Let's take a look at the weather for our home games in Boulder this weekend. On Saturday at 12 p.m., the lacrosse team will be facing off Michigan in mid-temp 40-degree weather. Later on Saturday afternoon, the temperature will be similar, around 44 degrees. Finally, the men's baseball team will be out for a warm day starting on Sunday at 12 p.m. around 52 degrees. Good luck to our Buffs, and we'll see you after the break.
Here we see Xavier McNevitz working on his reader for the live show. If we didn't have these readers done by Thursday night, chances are we would not be airing this show right now. Be like Xavier. Get your readers done. And don't forget to click save so that you don't lose any of your hard-earned work.
How's it going, Buff Nation? I'm Dylan Nation, and we've got several games coming up this weekend, so why don't we jump right in? We've got a lot going on tomorrow. First, Colorado's varsity lacrosse team will have a huge matchup against number 5 ranked Michigan here in Boulder tomorrow at noon. We also have CU's club baseball team playing Metro State at Scott Carpenter Park, playing on Saturday at 2 and 4:30 and on Sunday at noon. But that's not all. At 7 tomorrow, Colorado men's club lacrosse will play Arizona State and Tempe. And finally, at 2 on Saturday, the Buffs men's basketball team faces TCU at the Event Center in their final game of the regular season. Let's all come out to show our Buffs some love.
It's time for a trivia answer. As a reminder, we asked you earlier, when was the last year Colorado sent 4 players to the NFL Combine? The answer is, drumroll please, 2020. The players that were invited were Tony Brown, LaVisca DeShalt Jr., and Steven Montez and Devion Taylor.
Before we go, it's time for our tweet of the week. The nation's top prospects were in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine last weekend. At Media Day, it was a chance for the reigning Heisman Trophy winner to raise his stock. All eyes were on Travis Hunter, who garnished his usual attention amongst the crowd. CBS's Romy Bean captured the video of the herd of media surrounding the two-way star. As draft day nears, people are trying to learn more about the man under the helmet. Hunter is projected to be a top 5 pick in this year's draft, and he is looking the part.
Well, guys, sorry to end your favorite show, but we have to say goodbye.
But if you like Go Buff Sports so much, you should like and subscribe.
Well, I'm Britney Garcia.
And I'm Hannah Howell. And until next time,
you heard it here first.